You eat every day. But what if none of it is actually helping you? Stop for a second. Think about what you ate yesterday. Now ask yourself, did it heal you or just fill you? Because here's the part nobody says out loud. Some of the most powerful healing foods in the world are not new. They're not expensive. They're not even hidden. They've been here the whole time. And you've probably seen them, maybe even eaten them, but never understood what they could really do. That's the problem. We were never taught how to see them. Instead, we were taught to look somewhere else. Pills, supplements, quick fixes. Things that promise fast results, but never really fix the root. And while all of that got louder, something older went quiet. Something simple. Something real. Let me ask you something. If people thousands of years ago had no pharmacies, no modern medicine, no labs or machines, then how did they survive? Not just survive, how did they heal? Because they did. And not by guessing. They used something over and over again. Something written down. Something passed from one generation to another. But somewhere along the line, we stopped paying attention and replaced it. That's the part that should bother you. Because things don't just disappear like that. They get pushed out. They get ignored. They get covered up by something easier to sell. Now here's where it gets uncomfortable. What if the foods you trust today are the exact reason your body feels off? What if the real solution was never far away? And what if you've been walking past it your whole life? Take a second and sit with that. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. And if this even makes you question things a little, don't ignore that feeling. Most people do, and they stay stuck. But you're still here, which means part of you already knows something isn't right. And what I'm about to show you is going to make that feeling stronger, not weaker. Because this isn't just about food. It's about what was replaced, what was forgotten, and why it matters now more than ever. There are 10 of these foods. Simple, real, powerful. One of them was used to heal wounds when nothing else worked. Another could keep a person alive longer than you'd expect. And one, just one, was treated like medicine itself. But here's the part no one prepares you for. The most powerful one on this list is something people still use today. Every single day. And they're using it wrong. Completely wrong. So the question is, if something that powerful has been right in front of you this whole time, why didn't anyone tell you? Or maybe the real question is, who benefits from you not knowing? He was already reaching for it. Same habit, same motion. Tear it open, pour it in. Sweet, easy, done. Then he stopped, because something felt off. Not the taste, not the routine, the thought. What if this is the wrong kind? That question just sat there, quiet, but heavy. And once it shows up, it doesn't leave. Think about it. How many times have you grabbed something sweet without asking what it's actually doing to you? Not what it says on the label, what it actually does. Because here's where it gets strange. Sweetness was never the problem. That's what we were told, but not the truth. There was a time when sweetness didn't harm the body. It helped it. He looked down again. Same color, same texture, but not the same thing. And that's where people get it wrong. They think all sugar is the same. It's not. Not even close. There's one that was used when wounds wouldn't close, when infections wouldn't stop, when nothing else worked. Not in a lab, not in a hospital, in real life. And it worked. Now ask yourself something. If something that simple could do that, why isn't it the first thing people reach for today? Why was it replaced? Because it was. Slowly, quietly, completely. The man put the packet down, picked up something else. Becker. Golden. Real. You could tell just by looking at it. No bright colors, no fake shine. Just natural. But here's the part most people never hear. This wasn't just food. It was used like protection against things you couldn't see inside the body. That's what makes it different. Because it doesn't just sit there. It does something. Something active. Something your body understands. Unlike the other stuff. The one in the packet. The one most people still use every day. Now imagine this. Two people. Same craving. Same moment. One picks what's easy. The other picks what's real. They both feel satisfied. At first. But what happens after? That's the part nobody shows you. The slow effect. The hidden difference. And if you've ever felt tired, even after eating, if you've ever wondered why something feels off, maybe it's not you. Maybe it's what you've been choosing, without knowing. Be honest. Would you change it if you knew it mattered? Or would you keep doing what's familiar? Because most people don't change. Not because they can't, but because no one connects the dots for them. And once you see it, you can't pretend you don't. The man took a small spoon, just a little, tasted it, paused. Different. Not just sweet. Something else. Something deeper. And right there, he realized something most people miss their whole life. This wasn't just about replacing sugar. It was about replacing what was lost. But if something this simple was taken out and swapped, what else was? And more importantly, what happens when you start putting the real things back? One by one. He didn't eat for hours. Not by choice. Just no time. No energy. No plan. You know that feeling, right? When your body starts slowing down, your head gets heavy, and everything feels harder than it should? That's where he was. And then someone handed him something small. Wrinkled. Brown. Nothing special. He almost laughed. This is it? Be honest. You would have thought the same. Because it doesn't look powerful. It doesn't look like something that could change anything. But that's the mistake. He took one bite. Soft. Sweet. Simple. Nothing dramatic. But give it a minute. That's what they never tell you. Some things don't hit fast. They build. Slowly. Quietly. But once it kicks in, you feel it. Energy came back. Not like a spike. Not like sugar. Steady. Controlled. Real. And that's when it clicked. This wasn't just a snack. It was fuel. The kind your body actually understands. Now think about this. People crossed entire deserts with this. Long days. No food. No breaks. Just this. How? How can something so small carry that much power? That's the question. And once you ask it, you start seeing things differently. Because most of what we eat today fills space, but doesn't sustain. Big difference. One keeps you busy. The other keeps you alive. Which one do you think you've been choosing? Don't answer fast. Sit with it. Because this is where it starts to get uncomfortable. If something this simple can do that, why isn't it part of your daily life? Why do people ignore it? Why is it treated like nothing? The answer is not random. It never is. The man reached for another one. Slower this time. More aware. Like he finally understood what he was holding. And that changes everything. Because once you respect something, you use it differently. You stop rushing. You stop overlooking it. You start paying attention. And that's when the real shift begins. Not in the body, in the mind. Because now you're not just eating, you're choosing. And most people never get to that point. They just repeat. Same habits, same choices, without ever asking why. If you've ever felt drained for no reason, if you've ever needed something just to get through the day, maybe it's not about needing more. Maybe it's about needing something real. Something that was always there, just ignored. Now here's where it gets deeper. This wasn't even the most surprising part. Not even close. Because the next thing on this list was never just eaten. It was used when someone was already close to losing everything. And what happened after that? is something most people would never expect unless they saw it themselves. It hit him before he even saw it. Sharp. Strong. Almost too much. You know that smell. The one that makes your eyes react before your brain does. Most people turn away from it. Too harsh. Too raw. But this time he didn't. Because the situation wasn't normal. Something was spreading. Fast. Not visible at first. But you could feel it. Weakness. Discomfort. Something off. The kind of feeling you can't explain, but you know it's not right. And when things feel like that, people start reaching for anything. Anything that promises relief. But instead, they reached for this. Simple. Common. Everywhere. And that's what makes it strange. Because if something is that easy to find, that's where it gets uncomfortable. Because it forces you to look at things differently. Not just what you eat, but why you eat it. The man stood there, holding two options. One familiar, one real. He already knew the difference now, but knowing and choosing are not the same. And this is where most people fail. They see the truth, but stay with what's easy. So what would you do? Stay comfortable or change? Be honest, because your answer matters more than you think. This isn't just about food anymore. It's about awareness. And once you have it, you're responsible for what you do next. He made his choice. Slow, deliberate, no rush. Because now he understood something deeper. This wasn't about one item. It was about a system. A system that replaced real things with things that look real. And if that's true, then the next question becomes unavoidable. If this much has already been replaced, how far does it actually go? And what happens when you start removing those replacements one by one? Chapter 7. He almost didn't recognize it. Same bottle shape, same color, same place on the shelf, but now it felt different. Not because it changed, because he did. You ever go back to something you've used for years and suddenly see it in a completely different way? That's what this was. He picked it up slowly, turned it in his hand, looked closer, because now he wasn't just seeing a product, he was asking a question. What was this meant for? Not what it's used for today, what it was meant for. That question alone opened something most people never think about. Because this wasn't just something you cook with. That's the modern version, the simplified version. But before that, it was something else, something deeper, something people didn't take lightly. He poured a small amount, thick, smooth, clean, not flashy, not loud, just pure. And that's the thing about it. It doesn't try to impress you. It just works. But here's where it gets interesting. This wasn't just used in kitchens. It was used on the body, on wounds, on skin, on people who needed healing, not flavor. Think about that for a second. How many things today can be used both inside and outside the body? Not many. Because most things now are designed for one purpose. This wasn't. It crossed lines. And that tells you something. It means it was trusted, deeply trusted. And trust like that doesn't come from marketing. It comes from results. Real results. Over time. The man touched it, rubbed a little between his fingers. Different. You can feel it. Not artificial. Not processed. Alive in a way that's hard to explain, but easy to notice. Now ask yourself something. If something this simple was once treated like medicine, why is it now treated like just another option? Why is it sitting next to things that don't even come close? Because again, something replaced its meaning. Not the item itself, the meaning behind it. And that's more dangerous. Because when you remove meaning, people stop respecting it. They start using it without understanding it. Or worse, they start using it the wrong way. Be honest. Have you ever used something without knowing what it could really do? Most people have. And that's how powerful things become ordinary. Not because they are, but because we forgot. The man paused, looked at it again, longer this time, like he was trying to see everything he missed before. And in that moment, something shifted.
Because now it wasn't just about adding this back. It was about restoring something that was lost, something that changed how the body responded, how it healed, how it stayed strong. And once you understand that, you stop treating it casually. You start using it with intention. But here's where things take a turn, because not everything that looks like this is actually this. And that's the part most people never see coming. The bottle might look the same. The label might say the same thing. But what's inside? That's a different story. And if that's true, then how many things have you trusted that weren't what they claimed to be? And what happens when you finally realize you've been using the wrong version this whole time? He lined them up on the table, one by one. Honey, dates, figs, onions, oil. Simple. Almost too simple. But something didn't sit right. Not with the items, with the pattern. You ever look at a few things and suddenly realize they're connected? Not obvious at first, but once you see it, you can't unsee it. That's what hit him. Hard. Because this wasn't random, not even close. Every single one of them shared something. Not the taste, not the shape, not the color. Something deeper. They all worked with the body, not against it. No shock, no overload, no force, just support. Slow, steady, real. And that's when the thought came in, what if that's the difference? Not just what you eat, but how it works inside you. Let that sit for a second, because that question alone changes everything. Most of what people use today forces the body to react. Spikes, crashes, pressure. You feel it, even if you don't understand it. But these, they don't force anything. They guide. And that's a completely different game. The man stepped back, looked at everything again. Now it made sense. Not just individually, as a system, a pattern. And here's where it gets uncomfortable. If there's a pattern, then it wasn't accidental. It was designed that way, which means someone knew. Someone understood how the body works and chose things that matched it perfectly. Now ask yourself something. Do the things you use today follow that same pattern, or do they fight your body? Be honest, because this is where most people feel it. That quiet realization. Something isn't aligned. And once you feel that, it's hard to ignore. He picked up one item, then another, comparing. Not by brand, not by price, by effect. And the difference was clear. One supports, the other drains. Not instantly, but over time. That's the trap. Because slow damage is easy to ignore until it's not. And by then, it's already deep. Now here's where the shift happens. Because once you see the pattern, you start noticing something else. What doesn't fit, what doesn't belong, what was added later. And that's where things get serious. Because not everything on your plate is there for the right reason. Some of it was never meant to be there at all. Take a second. Look at your last meal in your mind. What in it actually fits this pattern, and what doesn't? Don't rush that answer, because it matters more than you think. If this hits you even a little, don't brush it off. Most people do, and they stay stuck in the same loop. Same choices, same results. But you're seeing it now, which means you have a choice. Ignore it, or change something, even one thing, because one change leads to another, and another, until everything shifts. But here's the part nobody talks about. Once you start removing what doesn't belong, your body reacts, not in a bad way, in a revealing way. And what shows up next is something most people are not ready for, because it exposes just how far things have already gone. He didn't expect it to feel like this. Not better, different. That's the word, different. At first it was small, easy to ignore, a slight shift in energy, a calmer feeling after eating, less heaviness, nothing dramatic. And that's exactly why most people would miss it, because they're waiting for something big, something instant, something that screams, this is working. But this was quiet, almost like the body was adjusting, resetting. And that's when the doubt hits. Is this even doing anything? Be honest, you've thought that before, haven't you? When something doesn't give you fast results, you start questioning it. You start thinking maybe it's not enough. Maybe you need something stronger, something faster. But what if that thinking is the reason things never truly change? Let that sit, because this is where most people turn back, right here. They feel the shift, but don't trust it. So they go back to what's familiar, even if it wasn't working, even if it was part of the problem. The man almost did the same, almost, but something stopped him. That same feeling from before, that quiet awareness. Something is happening, just not the way you expected, and that changes how you respond. Because now you're not chasing results, you're observing progress. And those are two very different things. One is impatient, the other is aware. Now think about this. What if healing was never meant to feel fast? What if it was supposed to feel steady, layer by layer, piece by piece, Not forced, not rushed, just real. Because everything you've seen so far follows that pattern. Nothing extreme, nothing aggressive, just support, consistency, alignment. And that's where the truth starts to show. Healing isn't something you force, it's something you allow. And that's hard for people to accept because it means slowing down. It means changing habits. It means letting go of what feels easy for what actually works. And that's uncomfortable, but real change always is. The man sat there, quiet, thinking, feeling the difference, not just in his body, but in his mindset. Because now he wasn't reacting, he was choosing. And once you reach that point, everything shifts. You stop asking, what's fastest? You start asking, what's right? And that question alone can change your entire life. But here's where it gets even deeper. Because the more he continued, the more something unexpected happened. Things he thought were normal started to feel wrong. Foods he used to enjoy felt heavy, artificial, off. And that's when it became clear. This wasn't just about adding better things. It was about removing what didn't belong. And that process reveals more than most people are ready for. Because once your body starts responding differently, you can't ignore what it's telling you anymore. So the real question is, are you ready to hear it? Or will you go back before it shows you something you can't unsee? It wasn't an accident. That's what finally hit him. Not slowly, all at once. Like everything just clicked. Because once you see the pattern, once you feel the difference, once your body starts responding, you can't pretend it's random anymore. And that's when the real question shows up. Why didn't I know this? Not why didn't I try it? Why didn't I know? That's deeper. Because trying something is a choice, but knowing it exists, that should be basic. That should be normal. But it's not. And that's the part that should bother you. He sat there thinking back. All the times he felt off. All the times he reached for something quick. All the times he trusted what was easy. And never once did anyone connect the dots for him.